Hey, it's Rob Charney, John Manajestic, News 44, Opinion versus Opinion, and here we are. So, thank you for watching, the few that are. We appreciate it. And of course, since this is always available on YouTube, make sure that you go watch it at another time. We had an opportunity on Mother's Day.
And archive.
Yeah, in our archive. We had it on Sunday, on Mother's Day. Wanted to show my sister, who unfortunately has Alzheimer's and didn't know who she was watching anyway, but we watched it on television on the full screen. We put the big screen up, and there we were. We showed our show, and by golly, it looks really good on a big TV. So we're doing high def really well. So,
well, that's good.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of that, can I make an egregious plug?
Sure.
I am participating in the Eagle Field Weekend, which is at eaglefielddrags.com. And on Saturday, it is a tribute to the old Fresno drag strip, and it is a flag start in cars earlier than 1974. Sunday, we're doing a Lions Club event, and but both of these things will be live streamed on quartermileproductions.net. That is quartermileproductions.net. So if you want to see me, you probably won't see me. But if you want to hear me in a persona more appropriate to my mustache, that'll be, we start at noon on Saturday, and I think we start at 10 on Sunday at quartermileproductions.com. It's the Eagle Field Drags. This is an old Army Air Corps training base like out by the Bryant Canal in South Dos Palos, to be absolutely clear. So go to eagledrags.com. I mean, there'll be 1,500, 2,000 people and 300 cars.
What was that URL? What's the URL for it again? Eagle.
It is eaglefielddrags.com.
Drags. I have a friend who lives in Fresno. He's an old car guy. I hadn't thought about him in a while. His name's Jeff Harsha. I don't know if you're running into him. He kind of worked for me for a while when I was a regional manager of Informed Communications, and so I'd go to Fresno every now and then and watch his operation. And a real nice guy, and I think I'm going to shoot him an email and tell him to look, because he might even drift over there.
Hey, eaglefielddrags.com. It's kind of it gets coverage in Hot Rod Deluxe and in Rod and Culture. I mean, we've got pinup girls. We've raised over $30,000 this year to repave the shutdown area, so that we have a completely safe parking lot. We guarantee that you will have traction of any parking lot anywhere in the Central Valley. We use Coca-Cola and bleach as traction compound, which is what they did in the old days. And although you want to know if she's got a big bazooms, we flag start with flat-chested guys.
No fun. You think that's what it was all about in the 50s. So we're going to drop flags.
Okay, yeah, right. 60 years later, it's about the same damn thing.
Yeah, that's right. All right.
All right. Which one of the debacles and trials of the week should we take on first?
Well, I'll tell you what. I have, excuse me. What we're going to take on first is just kind of informational, because there isn't much that we can do about it, but we want to bring it out in the open more and more. I've got a friend that I was hoping he was going to call.
We're going to be on Tuesday next week.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that at the end, but John's right also. It'll be Tuesday, May 21 next week. It won't be Wednesday, it'll be Tuesday, but we'll do that at the end of the show. So I have a friend who's not quite yet to come out in public with a very serious situation with his granddaughter. And we're talking about sexual assaults in the military.
Yeah.
Very, very serious situation going on. And it seems in this day and age, the military still wants to sweep all this stuff under the rugs and pretend it never happens. And it's a very serious problem.
It's a huge problem, and I will just share with you, if I may, unless you want to finish your point.
No, go.
Then I'll jump in.
Go.
I have this problem. I've had reports of people that their daughter is in junior high school, and boys will will terrorize them with today's rape day, and they will actually they are, and this is what I mean about innocence. They are aware of what that is
Yeah.
and what it constitutes. And this is, call me a nerd, call me a whatever. Women, women are women. They're the other half, and like, I just don't get it. This is societal. It's not just military.
No, it is societal. Right now, we're talking a little bit about the military because there were over. I'm losing my voice. Hold on a second.
Well, I'll help you clear.
There, how was that?
Hey,
there were over.
You're getting on his shirt, dude.
Yeah, no, there were.
No, when you have popular music that is pounding at high decibel, pimps and hoes, and it has an impact, people. It's not amusing.
No.
I understand the mentality of young people who tell you it's my music. In many cases, it is not their music. It's a lift of some old music. But the issue of it is that women, I know where you're at on this, and we don't disagree. It's the fact that they are human beings, a 50% full half, entitled to rights, and part of that includes not being abused, raped,
Exactly.
Or,
and we want the military to stand up and do what's right. It's estimated that over 26,000, and that's an estimate because they're not getting the full numbers, but over 26,000 assaults, and that's just
insane.
Yeah, that's.
But
ridiculous.
how much? But how many are? I mean, the horrible things I have to say. How many are happening at the high school?
Yeah. Well, we're talking just the military right now, let alone the whole population. Right?
It's crazy.
So we're talking about just the military alone, and the military's inability to control this. I mean, this is ridiculous. There's absolutely no reason for it. Now, has there always been rape and sexual abuse and that type
always
of thing?
has
Yes,
been.
always has been. But I don't think at the numbers and that we're seeing now, and particularly the military is wanting to take a blind eye to what's going on. They don't want to taint the colors of the uniform, and instead these poor women are being traumatized. And you know what? And I'm going to put in probably a lot of guys as well that are being sexually abused by other guys.
It
in
is.
the
It is
military.
more men than women.
Yeah. So the whole situation is all
And
these
that's
people
before.
are being.
Don't ask, don't tell. That was before gays could openly serve in the military.
Yeah, it's a serious problem. And we better start to do something here. Now,
I suggest something to you.
Yes.
And I'm sure that the problem did exist. Granted, when the draft was around, back when we were eligible.
I know, yeah.
Actually, you weren't eligible.
No, I was.
For about 2 seconds.
No, 3 years of the lottery was still going on.
When you were registered?
Yeah.
So from 18 to 21. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That regardless. I'm sure that this went on, but of course the military did not. You did not talk about this. But we now have a volunteer army. This is a very different component army. Maybe more select, but it's also a much longer. I mean, guys are at 3 and 4 and 5 tours, which is crazy.
Right.
It's crazy that you can serve that many hours in a hellhole of a war zone. And women. I mean, we have combined the military. But the fact that we just have that these young people, and they're not all young people. I mean, they're into their 30s now and 40s. I mean, and the guys that are supposed to be in charge. Here's the horrible thing: this last guy, Air Force guy, is supposed to be in charge of it, and he goes out and sexually assaults a civilian off the base.
Yeah. Well, we've got the what is it? The fox watching the hen house in that situation.
That is the issue.
Our new secretary, Chuck Hagel. Now it's going to be interesting throwing it out onto him. How is he going to handle this? He claims he's going to step up forward, and he's going to really take these sexual assault cases seriously, and not sweep them under the carpet. Jonathan, you had a comment.
Well, I have a question. John brought up something with the integration with women in actual combat roles, not assisting combat roles. Will this get worse? Because you're seeing, because that's my question, because you're seeing these guys who are in a hellhole, and I'm not, what's going to happen there? That's my question.
Needless to say, that if you are in a firefight or you're in a combat zone, and phew, is there a fair amount of testosterone flying around when your intent is to take someone else's life who you believe their intent is to take yours? Yeah, just a little bit. Now, there are women, right, that I mean, in these extreme cases, but the problem is on that one, Jonathan, that genie is out of the box. It doesn't make it worse. I don't know. I think what we're calling here, and I think at the end of the day, it's one of those situations of we must all be better human beings. Women are not objects. Women are not sexual objects. Women are not, under any circumstances. I don't know which. I deal with gentlemen every day. I'm mad. Go tell that guy that he made me mad and that made me get lost. I hear mad, angry all day long, and it never, ever, ever, never got nobody anyplace good. And it just hurts other people.
Do you guys know if there's any women in FOBs in combat zones? In a forward operation base?
I don't know what an FOB is.
Forward operation base.
They are entitled to be if they qualify.
Yeah, I have not met or spoken to a female that's been in the forward base, but I believe under the new structure they're able to be posted there.
I'm curious.
Oh, yeah.
I've never actually heard any women talk about being in the combat roles like that. I'd be curious if they would fear from their safety from their own side.
And Jonathan, there's an issue here as well. If women are in that position, or women are now in the Army, I mean, they're men and women, okay? We all have attraction and distractions. And many times in this military situation that is absolutely collegial and camaraderie, esprit de corps is absolutely key. You got to depend on your guys. You got to know they're going to be there. Your shit goes down, okay? The question is, at the same time, a woman may have relations with one of the male soldiers. Maybe two. Okay? I mean, it's a free world. I mean, let's go back to peace, love, and happiness. It was, but we didn't, I didn't go around raping women, nor did they go around raping me. It's a question, but the issue of it is, if a woman doesn't want to have sex with you, and you might have seen her have sex with someone else, or know that she, that whole deal, which is kind of, well, if you're doing, why aren't you, it's a stupid argument, but it's a guy argument.
Okay, one more question, and I don't know if any of you guys can answer this. Is it legal, military-wise speaking, for a female and a male in the combat zone when they're both they're both fighting to actually have coitus? Is it like a standing rule?
I don't think so. No,
I would think not.
No.
I would think that a rule has been written. I will tell you, a woman I almost married went into the Navy, got married in the Navy. I was not surprised to hear that she and her husband fought so awfully all the time that the Navy sent one of them to Sydney, Australia, or to the naval base, our ear in the middle of Alice Springs, and the other one to Alaska.
Probably was the best thing that could have happened to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the dissolution of their marriage, or the whatever.
Whatever.
I don't know, but
so
I can believe that could happen.
On this issue, as I'm going to move along a little bit, one of the things that also is, should we or should we not, there are some senators that are saying, okay, well, if you're the military, if you are not going to do the right thing, we're going to bring this into the open public situation and start prosecuting out of the military system.
How can you do that?
Well, it's the Congress. They can do anything they want. But Hagel is against that. He does believe that the military needs to continue being the ones that are
it's got to stay within the military, because if you mingle the two within the military.
Yes, you would think so. But that's the point, that people are it's gotten so bad, and the oversight has been so bad that these senators are going, look, you guys don't fix this, we will. So I think Hagel's got a handful and he's going to really need to make sure he gets on this and get this done. And boys and girls out there in the military, God bless you for fighting for us, but you need to respect each other. And
this is very true.
I
mean, it's just, we respect you, believe me, but part of your job is to carry yourself as an American and be. Yeah, war crimes happen, but God, just don't. I can't. It's like crazy.
Yeah,
makes no sense to me. And
it's very sad.
At that age, I was a very sexual human being.
Yeah.
So
well,
we'll leave it at that.
I was hoping that my friend was going to call in and maybe touch bases on it. He's got a lot more knowledge than I is, but he's not ready to talk publicly about it yet. So we're going to move on.
Okay.
So you and I have talked a little about what seems to be growing more and more in the news about the IRS being politically biased in their audits and the 501c3 C4 situation. And I know you have an opinion on it, and I'll let you start.
It's not the first time they've been biased. They have refused 501c4 status to some what you would consider liberal and progressives. At the instruction of senators, they investigated the NAACP and its 501c3 status. Now, why is there reason for concern? Part of this starts off with me. I'm not real happy with the freaking president at the moment because he drags his feet. He waits too long. He lets things fester. He lets people talk shit and create. And I must stop. And I'm very unimpressed when John Boehner gets up and says, "And I don't care who resigns. I want to know who's going to jail." You know what I want to know? Who's going to jail from the banks that bankrupted this country and put millions of freaking people out of work? Who's going to jail for that, John? You'll get a bureaucrat or two, maybe, but who's going to jail for that? Now that I'm completely sidetracked, the ridiculousness of the sideshow. The integral thing is these are federal tax exempt bodies. 501c3 has been around forever. And a 501c3 is either a public charity, private foundation, or private operating foundation with open membership, whereas a 501c4 organizations are civic leagues or associations operated exclusively for the promotion of social welfare for local associations of employees with limited membership. So the definition to me of a 501c4 is pretty much People's United and an expansion of, and a 501c4 can openly and lobby wherever for whatever cause they want, and a 501c3 must file documentation and get approval. My issue is this, people. I think that the targeting, and this investigation is going national, okay? But the issue of it is, and this is what I started to have a conversation, feel that the IRS, one of its primary jobs, is to scrutinize tax-exempt organizations, because that's a huge thing to not have to pay federal tax. We all pay federal tax. And some of these associations, 30 years ago, Goodwill, the major charities all fell one after another, because like 80 cents of the dollar was going to administration, 10% to charity. A 501c3 status must be looked into. That they targeted at the time the number of applications from Tea Party, Liberty, Independent under the definition of 501c4, the number of applications was huge. I would further, and they will issue an application, and then they often follow up with an investigation once the application has been issued. So there was a huge number of 501c4 filings from Tea Party type people. Now, that being said, of course, the head of the IRS at the time was a W appointment, and the one that took over that resigned today. And in that respect, I thought Mr. Obama is right. Whether he did it or not, whether he was actually an undersecretary or an assistant to the commissioner, which means he was there. He has to go because there's obviously it happened while he was in the House. Is it it's again, hoisted on the petard. It's just meat for the crowd. Is it a reality? Is it truly a problem? It's been going on for a very long time. Somebody got busted. Heads will roll. Somebody might go to jail. What do you want more than that?
The problem that has occurred is, Jonathan just handed me another article. They're all pointing in the same direction. What's starting to happen? I had an opportunity to talk to the head of the Tea Party in the Foothills. No, I guess they're called the Foothills Tea Party Association or whatever. And the issue that came was that it wasn't so much extra scrutiny. It was they were dragging their feet, and it took them almost 3 years to get approved, and it took them going to their congressmen and state senators to help out to try to get this moving around, get it going. They just, yes
Rob,
or no, but it was.
If the definition of your organization is, and organizations are civic leagues of associations operated exclusively for the promotion of social welfare or local associations of employees with limited membership, if that's the definition, I'm looking at that real close. Whether it's a progressive or it says Tea Party or it says.
So how many years?
That's so vague.
How many
that
years,
is so
John?
vague.
How many years do you sit on something? 2.5 years? For what? What do you do in 2.5 years? That's ridiculous. I'm sorry. And it's a systemic problem. And as you know, you told me last week it's a non-issue. And every day since, it's become a bigger issue. And we're going to hear more. And the interim chief of the IRS resigned today, as well as he should have, as you said. And I think...
And he had only been in there since November of 2012. But he was the assistant to the commissioner.
The point is, I believe that this was done purposely. I believe that...
Wait a minute. Who did it purposely? Because the guy that was the head of the IRS was appointed by W.
No. Whoever did it, okay? Because there's a chain of command. I'm not saying the guy at the top did it, but somewhere in there...
It said that he knew by May.
The IRS agents, either themselves or under their leader, whoever that may be, or boss, or whatever you want to call it, it's actually been stated, it's a Tea Party application, you're going to drag your feet on it.
Where was that stated? It certainly wasn't stated in any hearings. It certainly hasn't been stated in anything. I know you think that my source of news is tainted, but I have more than one.
I got it off the Hill. It came out again right from the reporting
from the Hill.
From the Hill. And, it's DOJ has decided to open an investigation. It's got to be something there.
Well, you want to know?
They're either going to find something or nothing. But the fact is, what's happened is they just drug their feet on these things so long, and that's the big issue. Either do it or deny it, but don't take 3 years to figure out what you're going to do.
Well, here's the issue I think could come up. The reason why this and Benghazi are such a big deal is I think it's the way Obama handled it. I think he's getting bad PR advice.
Jonathan, I don't think that you could tell me, even though the deficit is reducing, that Obama handled anything well, in your opinion.
Well, no, this specifically because Obama, whether you like a guy or not, he's a very good speaker. I think he's on the level of Clinton on being able to misdirect the conversation. Bush just sucked at it.
Whoa!
But
You don't think this is a misdirection?
No.
You don't think that 1/3 of the committees in the Congress and the Senate are involved in some investigation of Obama while we languish with no jobs?
Well, I'm just talking about this. I think Obama mishandled.
I'm talking about this. This is all of this entire week has just been a blow up to not get towards a legislative agenda, but to move it off target again. And let's go. The IRS went after the Tea Party and Benghazi. Boy, I'll tell you, that hearing from last week that was a hottie is not quite this. And Obama, and I'm not praising Obama. But to say Obama administration, you know how many people are in the bureaucracy? You know how many people are in the IRS? And do you also know that the IRS's
that's my
budget
point.
over the last 4.5 years has been reduced by
I'm not saying that it came from the top, John, and we're not saying that Obama himself said, hey, you will do that. But somebody in the chain did say you're going to drag your feet.
Hold on. I'm just talking about the PR. politics is more PR than anything. What I'm saying is, Obama, the first thing he heard about this, what Obama should have done is should have said something. It came to my desk that this happened. This is what we're going to do. We're not going to say anything until we get to the bottom of this. I think what happened is he just did bad PR. I'm not talking about the politics. I'm talking about the way they handled the news.
Jonathan, I think we got to both agree that last week was not the greatest PR week, and this week has not proved to be the greatest PR week for the Obama administration.
Exactly, and
there's no doubt about that.
And it's politics.
And Jonathan, I've said this more than once, and not always here, that one thing I could get from W, I might not like what he was saying, but he told me where he was at.
Yeah.
Obama tries to take this on, and it is very irritating. Very corporate lawyer-ish. Let me get the research. We'll cook it. And in the meantime, it's obvious by Benghazi. It's obvious by the news conferences yesterday. It's obvious since day one. And one of the biggest problems with the Obama administration is fire the goddamn attorney general. He's incompetent. He's bought you more
bingo.
grief.
And I think,
there you go.
You know, and I think
do something about it.
Yeah.
And the problem is Obama is a micromanager. He had, and Rob Emanuel, he went away. And then he was replaced by Daley from Chicago, who was a ne'er-do-well. That was nothing but a plum appointment. And they finally fired Daley because he didn't do an effing thing except go out to lunch with people. And what the chief of staff is supposed to do is fire people. If you see exactly what you're talking about, right, Jonathan, you're supposed to have your finger on the pulse of everything that's going on. And if it's starting to rumble, go in there, roll heads, and change it. Obama is a very insecure person, I am finding at this point. And he relies on counsel from places I think we all three could agree are not giving him good advice.
Exactly, he's not. And Eric Holder has to go, and it had to go years ago.
He should have gone at the gun deal with Mexico.
And I think...
But he let him stay, and the scandals since then are just...
What is wrong with Obama? Obama's got to know this guy's a nutcase, I'm going to give Obama chops on, if we get back to the Tea Party thing real quick, he said, Obama said targeting politically would be outrageous and the agency would be held fully accountable. Well, at least he made a statement now. Let's see what happens.
Oh, well, yeah, but the thing of it is, and I was listening further today, there actually is a woman inside the IRS who was really on top of this deal, and she has not resigned. Mm-hmm. Okay? And I'm not defending anybody. The problem what we have here is the people at the IRS are there for 25 years, and they're not going anyplace. They are a huge problem. That bureaucracy, the whole bureaucracy of the IRS, God, I'm going to hell now. The entire bureaucracy of the IRS is too big. Audited. It's too overcrowded. And you can you spend 25 years with the service, and then you become an EA, an enrolled agent, and now you're supposed to counsel people about how to file with the IRS. Right. It's a bad nepotistic system. It's a horrible bureaucracy. The laws have been rewritten and scratched out in crayon and written back again in ink, and but the bureaucracy ain't gonna go away. And somebody decided that they were gonna target these applications. I think initially, legitimately, I just heard all this outrage, and I haven't had the time to actually read up on exactly, but it was just like when the machines are listening in. it was prompted to go anything with Tea Party, Patriot,
yeah,
and that got highlighted.
Well, I'm not saying,
and again, let me very clearly say, and I'm not saying it's right, okay? But this is one of these things that has been going on for a very long time. It finally hit its head, and folks, and Jonathan, I didn't mean to cut you off, but what's really pissing me off is we're not dealing with what we need to deal with, and that's getting this country back on the tracks. Even if we put somebody in jail for the IRS, good. Let's move on. If we settle Benghazi and Hillary Clinton doesn't run for president, good. Let's cut the pound of flesh and move on. whatever it is at this point, the primary thing is we have to find a way to rebuild the infrastructure in the United States to employ qualified people, to educate our youth and give them the skills they need to do the jobs that need to be done for this country to become the great power it has been for over a century. And, I lament its decline every day.
Well, as we have said so many times, this is our 14th show. Almost every show we talk about, we've got to get this country back to work. We got to get people working.
I don't care about taking it back. I just want to put butts in jobs.
Yeah.
Because I will tell you, the kids, the entitlement issue, you can put it on the Mexicans. Okay. You can put it on the African Americans. But I'm there every day. And these kids, it's just like I'm in a institution. I'm in a lockup. Luckily, they give me the keys to get out every day. I bring magazines in because I'm teaching art, and sometimes everybody doesn't finish at the same time. So let's keep them occupied with the magazine. But now it's, say, Coach, can we have some bike magazines? Could you bring some low? And it's like, tell me if I'm wrong, Rob. When we were kids, we were just happy somebody thought enough to give us something to play with to kill the time.
That's right.
And we didn't say, can I have a purple one? Purple would be nicer.
Yeah.
I mean, it is unbelievable. Inmates are equal to 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
Well, they are treated like 5-year-olds.
Well, they have to be.
So that's not necessarily,
I mean,
I'm assuming, if you treat people like that, they're going to revert to that.
Well,
Some
no,
of them are not happy with me because I've called them out as men and said, come on, man up, do this. You're acting like a 5-year-old. You're whining. I got one kid, man, first day, I said, yeah, you're going to whine every day? They like, but it's like, I just call it the way I see it.
Well, but you're right. Man, they do feel like they have an entitlement, and I don't understand where that's coming from. And it's back to the statement about trying to get this country back up and running again. And it's just, yeah, okay. So you said it. You said Benghazi, IRS, all of these things are distractions to what really should be going on.
And I'm not saying they're not important. I'm not saying, it would be great to know. But the bottom line is, all right, when Boehner gets up and goes, who's going to get fired? John, you shouldn't be talking about who's going to get fired. You need to be talking about who's going to get hired. Because there's a lot of people in this sequester that are losing their job, getting furloughed for hours. Which, I mean, we are turning the tap down on the income stream.
How it's funny how the news cycle, it doesn't talk about the sequester so much anymore. When we were building up to it, we were falling off the fiscal cliff. Everything was coming to an end. The world was going to stop. The trains are going to stop running. The planes weren't going to fly. Your cell service wasn't going to work. It was going to be the end.
Rob, go ahead, finish.
Yeah,
You're right.
No, it was going to be the end of times, right?
Here's
the reality. When was the last time you heard about it?
We need to squeeze, we need to downsize the bureaucracy, including the IRS. And guess what? At the end of the day, the sequester is helping us pay off the deficit. Our deficit, it really is on the decrease. And they say by 2014, it's going to be in the $364 billion. Yeah. Crazy number.
Yeah.
Right? But we're actually starting to pay the deficit off.
You know what? I don't disagree with you. As it's turning out, done properly, the sequester is the way to do it.
The thing of it is, here's why they did it. All right? And yeah, they want to get away from it because people are starting to get hurt. And Head Start's going away.
Yes.
But I think that I hope we're bright enough to know that some of these things that we kind of sort of had to cut the head off the animal to correct the problem. All right, that we will reinstate some of these programs that we know are beneficial and need to be there. That's my issue when I see when I see the Republicans in the Congress, cut it. We don't need it. And I'm going, yes, we do need it, but we may have to cut it now so we can cut the fat because we're fat. The bureaucracy is fat. And I don't want anybody. And I'm just lucky to be, maybe showering in the beams of Governor Moonbeam, and his tax will provide enough money for me to get a job teaching school full time.
Yeah,
Maybe.
maybe.
So, I mean, but that's only in California. That impact's going to be great across the country. It is so, and we also have talked about this time and time again. It is so fat. The bureaucracies are, and we owe pensions. We owe, we gave away benefits when we were in a completely different economy than we are now. And we do that. We are a boom and bust economy. I mean, there are volumes that fill shelves in economic sections of libraries or in schools of economics about the American boom and bust capitalist economy, and it is getting weary. But we're always having a boom and a bust, and a boom and a bust.
So here's my question. What would you, if you had the magic keys to the political kingdom, what would you fix? Like, just to help the jobs, what to cut, what to increase, what would you do? What's the one thing you think that they're not doing? A question for both of you.
And this would, you talk about, maybe I'd get away with it because I'm Caucasian, but I would make utilities public monopolies again. I would take them out of private ownership. As we talked about 2 weeks ago, the grid is in perilously bad shape. We could be brought to our knees with no electricity, and your Chevy Leaf and your Prius ain't gonna do you no good, brother. If they turn the power off, we are hugely vulnerable.
No place to plug in.
And those are now privately held entities that kind of masquerade, but they have a different profit structure. They have a different business model than when they were publicly owned monopolies called public utilities. And we need to fix those, because I just find it unconscionable, because I'm not nuts for my people that some of my liberal ideas, but it's private industry. The government can only tell them to do so much, and then they're going to recoil through their lobby that says those damned regulations make it impossible to do business for a profit. But the problem is the public utilities shouldn't be run for a profit. So let's start there. Yeah, we do need a revolution.
How do we improve infrastructure if we don't allow profitability?
Well, but you see, when it was a public utility, profitability wasn't in the model.
No, but it was built into the cost. So,
right.
So,
where's the difference? What was built into the cost was R&D and expansion, and improvement of technology.
I believe that, I'm with you in that I wasn't very happy with the fact that we privatized public utilities. I think as far as power goes, I think it's something that should have stayed in the public hand. On the other hand, on the telecommunications side, it was the best thing that we did. The breaking up of the bells turned out to be a really, really good thing.
But you're going back to 1960.
Well,
again,
I don't care.
Years ago.
It's still a point, and it's still taking something that went from public to private and worked. Utilities, not so much. And it seems that the problem is they've got to report to a shareholder and show an earnings, right? Instead of taking those earnings dollars and putting it into the infrastructure. And that's the difference between a public utility and a private.
I submit to you, okay, even though completely different technologies, and I can tell you about a horrific experience I had with Network Solutions last night for 2 hours, just to get my domain squared away and make sure my information wasn't shared with the world. But in terms of telephone service, is your cellular provider or whomever is providing your landline, is it really better service than we used to get from Pac Bell?
Yeah, it is.
Well, but now you're talking about data service?
And I'm talking about how far back you go, the landline's still a landline. And if you look at the cost of the landlines now, if all you wanted, nothing else, just a phone line, old-fashioned, stuck-to-the-wall landline, the cost is like $10 a month.
Boy, that's not what people tell me here.
Well,
people that had landlines coming into their house for fax machines, that were saying it's costing them $50 and $60 a month to have that landline.
You get into these. I've studied this a lot. As you know, I've been involved with the telecommunication industry in the internet world for a very long time, and I studied this for a long time. And when you really look at your bill, and you really look at what the cost is, where It has to do with the bundling. And now, if you're an AT&T customer, or you're a Verizon customer, or whatever, and they're also your landline provider as well, you get all this stuff bundled together, and it looks horrendous. So the problem probably lies more in the cellular area than the landline area, because that's where all the added taxes are really going to now.
I just know that on my, because since I'm in my living situation, I don't have to worry about paying the bill for the other things. And folks, because I have been in a room renting situation for many years now, things like putting in a phone line, number one, they're going to want huge deposits because I haven't been a victim for a very long time.
Right.
And I'm just looking, you need to make $3,000 a month if you want to live where you want to live, and you want to have your car there when you come downstairs, and you want to come home to where you live. That's where I keep my stuff, and I hope somebody doesn't kill me. Telecommunications, but arguable one way or the other, and I think because of technology, there's no going back.
Yeah,
but the public utilities they obviously are not maintaining the infrastructure. They're not maintaining the grid. I'm not saying that it would have been any better maintained if it was a public utility, but it would have been easy for the federal government, state governments, local governments to work together to renovate that.
Yeah.
And pull the trap door back up on our bunny sleepers.
The beauty,
because it's a huge exposure.
Oh yeah. Well, the beauty on the telecommunications side is that we've all gone cellular. I mean, most people don't even have a landline in the home anymore. The only advantage, really, about having an actual hard landline depends on where you live. Where I'm up in the foothills here, we got a fringe area, so we have to use a femcell or a cell repeater to actually get cell service to work well in the house. So you have to have internet of some kind, right? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, most of us have to have one to help boost that signal a bit. But most people aren't going for landlines anymore. So the beauty of that for the phone companies is less dollars into putting in copper, more dollars putting into cellular and fiber. So that's where it's all going. That's where it should go. And if they do it right, they can make a profit and improve their service.
Well, and Sprint, who I've had for way too long and is about ready to go sailing out of my life. Since the merger with the Japanese company, and I'm not sure that that's gone through. But in the town where I live, they have closed any Sony store that was independently operated, was a representative, has been closed. There's only one company store left. I went in them to ask them a question on my telephone. They said, "Do you have the insurance?" I said no, and they said, "It'll cost you $50." And I said, "Exactly which hole in your body do you want me to place this phone in and then remove it?" After 15 years and $30,000 at least that I paid you for phone service, you got the gall to look at me and say, "Give me $50."
Yeah, they do have interesting scams on. Again, you look at your bills. That's why I said, believe it or not, landlines are cheaper than you think, because look at what they've done with the cell lines and all that.
Oh, and I've got that $8 fee or $4. It's a fee.
It's awful.
Into my bill. Oh, and we get to put $4.50 on here.
Yeah,
because we lobbied that we need a fee.
Yeah, we need a fee. No, it's not a tax; it's a fee. Yeah, that's what the government tells you. Well, one of the things on the technology side, I just happened to read before we're going on the air here. It caught my attention. It said that the AT&T CEO, Randall Stevenson, stoked fear amongst open internet advocates on Wednesday when he told investors that he expects content owners to soon begin paying to subsidize smartphone traffic to their websites and service. So basically what they're trying to do is people like ESPN is trying to cut a fat hog with like Verizon or whomever and say, if you watch anything that's ESPN, it won't count against your minutes. Interesting.
Here's the deal, my friend. And I have ranted on this more than once. It's people, many of them with a degree called an MBA, that find things that were originally a value, a customer value, a value added, an additional service that made you choose that provider over another provider, and they said, "Hey, we could charge them for it," right?
Yeah.
And since they are a public company, and well, the shareholders are our clients, and our client, no, they're not. The shareholders are that much of your clientele. So what you're doing is you want to. This is that money flowing up to the top 3% that have, what is it, 10 times more money than the other 97% of us.
Yeah.
Why? Why do you have to charge me a fee for that? And then I will give you an example of my network solutions experience.
Yes, good old network solutions.
I couldn't go to the ISP because I stopped having the ISP because why should I pay for a little tiny mailbox when I can have a great big one for free? Mm-hmm. So they couldn't contact me. So I finally got in touch with them, and my domain name was in limbo. And people, I don't mean to insult anybody, but I'm going to call it the way I see it. You called in Network Solutions and everything was fine until the guy said, "I'll send you there." And he sent you to the Philippines. I sent them 3 emails at their email address. They received none of them. They are in the computer business, in the email business. They never got the email.
Yeah, right.
So finally, after just and it for some reason you call through on an American line, and then they have to cook you up with their overseas line. So there's a very large downtime transition. Anyway, so finally after 3 days, and I finally got a supervisor that asked me for the last 4 numbers of my social security number. Everything was fine. Huh. We'll update the information. So I finally, long story, I pay for it last night. Okay, I go in. None of the information in my profile has been updated. I'm going to update. So I pay for 3 years, and I decide I don't want to pay the $9 a year, $9.99 for security.
The parking,
but then get an email.
Fee. Yeah.
Huh?
The parking fee.
I then get an email that says, all of your information is available to the public now. If you don't want it to be that way, call us. So I called them, and I pitched a rather large pitch. I said, when is the default? We're going to expose your information to everybody. And to not do that, I have to pay you a fee. That's my information. It is not your information. And this is, when we talk about amendments, this is my First Amendment goddamn right. And my Fourth Amendment right. Okay? And I mean, the things that's going, the AP thing is a huge violation. Just to get back on some kind of a topic of our First Amendment rights. The press shall not be eavesdropped on. Because they're the one that's supposed to keep some kind of parity in this screwed up game that we play.
We'll hear more about that one. That one's going to come out more too, because that was just atrocious. But just
that, my friend, is what you and I both agree on. Yep. Eric Holder has got to go.
Oh, he's got to go. He's got to go. So just real quick, just to give people here's an interesting thing. The Motion Picture Association of America, MPAA. Okay.
Useless piece
Guess
of
what?
crap.
So they
I'm so glad you got there before I did.
Oh yeah, John did great. But here's what they did. You're gonna love this. They're touting this as here we got something for you guys. Here it is. They unveiled a website to encourage legal viewing of TV shows and movies. Right? They launched a website on Wednesday that shows people where they can watch movies and TV shows legally. The site, www.wheretowatch.org, is intended to direct people to places online where they can watch non-pirated versions of their favorite TV show. I can't wait to go to that website and look at it. Hadn't had a chance yet.
Here's my one kvetch. Is somebody who does a movie review show.
No, it's a kvetch. For a go issue, you're okay.
I'm saying kvetch because I'm really pissed about this. This is
come on. Load up.
Go.
This is the one thing that I hate. You have all these media companies like the MPAA and the RIAA, and they bitch about people pirating their stuff. Here's the deal. Give it in the format people want. That's the thing. Make it cheaper, put it free. I don't care. Make it a digital download. People will watch it. You won't stop pirating. But the moment you put all this DRM, you can only watch it once a month on a blue moon on the third week of a Halloween. It's going to piss people off. That's the reason why That's the reason why everybody pirates. When you can't watch your show on Hulu after you miss it, people pirate it. The problem is they're using an old model.
You don't have a TiVo? You can't TiVo it?
Yeah, the problem is they don't like that. I've had times in some of the
they like it well enough that every single service sells it. It's not an issue any longer.
TiVo's all back.
Part of licensing. Now,
well, the main issue is cable cutters. Now they're having a lot of people who are sick or tired of paying the fee. So what they're doing is it just about access. If they make all these shows, even with commercials, online, people will still watch it.
Here's the thing, and we talked about it. It's got to be 30 years ago on a front line. They said in the future, the most valuable thing will be your stream of information. It will be discrimination through the price mechanism. I mean, just to have basic cable, what, 75, 80 bucks a month?
It's very expensive. We have DirecTV here.
Which I'm, for the most part, very happy with.
Yeah, I've been with them a long time, very happy with them. They're starting to get a little pricey, and I would like them to go to more of an a la carte type program, and I think that's...
John McCain. John McCain recently put a bill, which, by the way, is going to fail miserably, about a la carte cable.
Yeah, he's trying to do cable. But I wish DirecTV would do that, because I can't tell you when the last time I watched a Showtime or an HBO movie. I don't watch that stuff.
And you have to buy it.
But you got to buy it. You got to get the whole package.
Part of that is someone edified car sales as a great way of, these are great sellers. This is a great way to sell stuff to people.
Right.
I want a la carte like I had in the 50s. I want this. I don't want that. I don't want the... No, you have to buy the special deluxe Explorer package to get that, and you get this and this and this. I don't want that, and that. I want that, okay? That other shit I don't care about. Now, for a bit of comedy relief, should I duplicate Newt Gingrich asking the public to message him, what should we call this amazing device? Newt, retire.
You know what's funny is
3 minutes that man didn't say a single word and just admitted that I don't know what the F this is and what to do with it.
I don't know how to use it. Here, give it to my assistant.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a personal. It's a PDA. Give it to them.
Yeah, give it to them.
Come on, Newt. And he produced that and put it on the web. Go ahead, Jonathan. I
just realized the things you talked about, the power, and the thing you just talked about reminds me of an old Bob movie. You know, you have a guy named Joey Two Toes who walks over and says, "You want your information to be private? You're gonna have to pay the Vic."
That's it.
Yeah.
It totally reminds me of that.
Jonathan, banks are charging interest rates that was at rates that up until 10 years ago would be considered loan sharking, and you would have been arrested and put in jail.
Yeah, credit
and now they advertise payday loan.
These poor suckers.
We are a sole Indian tribe, and we will lend you $10,000, and if you don't pay us the 80% interest, we're going to come over and scalp you.
Yeah.
Come on. I mean, they are gouging. I mean, the gloves are off. Ollie, oxen free. Hold them down and gouge them in the eyes.
Yeah, I just those. I can't.
But when you talk about, hey, if you don't pay us every Thursday, this place isn't going to look so good. We have legalized extortion on that, and this is what I mean when Boehner says, "Who's going to jail at the IRS?" Hey, John, who's going to jail from the banksters? Yeah. And Elizabeth Warren is coming after the banksters. I know I pissed both of you guys off by even mentioning that woman's name. But when it comes to credit and consumers, I think she is the great white hope
if she
of
does
America.
If she does her job and she does it as she states she's going to do it, I have no argument.
It's a very bright woman.
I
would vote for this woman for vice president, maybe even more.
She's
vice president's useless. I'd say vice president.
She's got to. we've got to do something about the banking situation. We all agree on that. It's just
Nobody went to jail. They brought
Yeah.
this country to its knees.
you know what was really
Nobody went to jail.
Yeah, I don't understand this. How this mortgage situation, and that's exactly what it was. They would lend money to your cat. You put your cat's name on a form, and the next thing you know, they've thrown you into a $300,000 home
They
with
found
a
a way to
$2,500 a month payment, and they said, "Hey, look what we can do for you. Anybody can do it."
No, here's the worst thing, Rob. They'd put you into a $400,000 house in Folsom, okay?
Yeah.
Which you knew because you're working at the auto parts store, and your wife's working at 7-Eleven, and you got 2 kids. You want a house, okay? We can get you in. Don't worry about it. And what they do is they'd stack the downy into this balloon payment on the front end.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Which is, don't worry about the balloon payment. We'll refi that. People were in homes they weren't qualified to financially live in.
Yeah. That that is so criminal that what they did to the people. And you know what the hardest part is, the people that did it honestly, that honestly put a big deposit down, honestly, been paying their
It's like
rent.
immigration, right?
Yeah, they lost their job.
Saved their money.
They lost their job, right? They couldn't make their monthly payments anymore. The market fell to the bottom, so they were upside down by hundreds of thousands of dollars. And you wonder why people had to walk. They had no choice. The banks just didn't do shit for these people. They didn't have an opportunity to work with them, to try to find out what
They
do.
held the
Bank
gun.
of America, Bank of Italy, screw you guys.
Our friend the judge, okay, went 2 years refiling documents. Oh, they make too much money. Now you don't make enough money. 2 years filing documents, talking to people and this is what gets me. This is like Benghazi. It's like the IRS. It's like all of this scandal, right? They are sitting here over and over and over and over again. Send us this, send us that, send us this,
Yes.
send us that.
Yes.
He just wants to lower the payment. He finally gets a letter and says, yes, we can adjust your mortgage. You will pay $100 a month more than you were.
Good
Luckily,
adjustment.
he had come into a lump sum of cash, and he just bought his first mortgage out.
Jesus.
Because at that point he goes, I'm not going to do that, foreclose, and they foreclose. But why? We're wasting time, we're wasting money, we're wasting labor. It's just, no offense, Boehner. I think if they didn't today, they will tomorrow, and the new congressman will get an opportunity to go on record that they voted against Obamacare, but it cost you and me money for them to have that vote. And it'll be the 37th time that Congress has voted to repeal Obamacare. I wish they would put as much time and effort into doing their job and figuring out how to craft legislation that would deliver a benefit to the American people.
I don't disagree with you on that. Go on, John.
An odd parallel is Microsoft. They did something where they would put out software they know that may not be the best, but they can put it out and they do updates over time to improve it. They call it service pack generally. So I was thinking about that, saying it's service pack legislation. They'll pump the crappiest legislation out in the hopes that years down the line they'll be able to fix their goofs.
Well, and look how they got to sequester.
Yeah.
They agreed. They got together and they said, okay, let's make up all these draconian things that we will impose upon the economy that will bring us to so bad that it's like the Serbian letter at the beginning of World War I when Austria-Hungary made a demand on Serbia because of Franz Ferdinand being shot by Princip in Sarajevo, and it was totally ridiculous. Guess what? The Serbs acquiesced. They didn't say screw you.
Yeah.
They said, okay, we'll do that.
So
Which meant they couldn't blame them for starting World War I.
It was mutually assured destruction, but nobody feared it. The reason why it worked during the Cold War is there was a legitimate fear. Nobody fears politics.
Well, because it's gone from the ridiculous to the sublime.
Yeah, it's just
right.
crazy.
And so again, we're going to waste our time and our Congress's money to vote to repeal Obamacare another time. Now, it's either 36 or 37. And each vote costs in the tens of thousands of dollars. So, I mean, we've got like hundreds of thousands of dollars in feeding the bureaucracy that it takes to take a vote in Congress. We should economize there. We should cut those votes down and make them, financially efficient votes that don't
Can't
waste
we all
money.
just get along?
Rob,
Yeah, I know.
we have our differences, but at the end of the day, I don't know if you saw that thing. We disagree, and sometimes we agree.
We agree. Yeah.
That's funny. Then it's going back to your
I
childhood
put
when
that.
you both were hippies.
Jonathan, you might. This was something that at Santa Monica College, okay, with Mr. Dodge, the government history teacher there, the guy that had the peace symbol and pansies on his front lawn. And the thing of it is, when you look at it and go to the dictionary and check the margin between the radical, which is supposedly me, and the reactionary, which would, so let's say Wayne LaPierre would be the reactionary, it's very, very small. In essence, we want the same things. It's just sometimes who is it going to benefit becomes the question.
Right. And then everything comes down to what's in it for me.
Rob, and I don't say this to ingratiate myself. I don't have a lot of material possessions. I own my car as of last night. I never have. You know that when we were kids, everybody said, "Oh, Matty Jasic's going to own like that half of the world." But there was a point where it struck me that I really didn't care about the money. Not that I didn't care about me. I want myself to be okay. But the money, maybe because I didn't have the family and the whole thing like that, but it was just like, you get a different perspective on what you need. And of course, if you have a family, you have,
Sure.
You have to do what you need to do.
Right.
But the money became entirely unimportant to me, which is sometimes in conversations intimidating because people are, chose to succeed in business and make lots of money, and that can be intimidating. But at the end of the day, now at my somewhat advanced age, you know what? I don't care any more than I didn't care before. I'm teaching kids at the prison, and I'm actually pretty happy doing it.
Yeah, that's a good thing. You're doing a good
Hey,
thing, John. So,
we
hey, you know
goosed
what?
the 8 o'clock thing.
Yeah,
killed
we did
another
it.
hour here.
We-
Let's go into the car talk deal.
Yeah,
and
we know.
we're on next Tuesday.
That's right. So, everybody, thanks again for watching. Remember, the show will be on next Tuesday, May 21, 7 o'clock. We
Tuesday.
will send out our emails. And I know, it should be nice to get more of you to join in and watch the show. I don't know what more I can do to get you to help out, but come on, give us a chance. Watch us. We'll even stick our tongues out or something. I don't know.
Well, this reminds me of the drag races where we have speakers in different places. And I'll go, and ladies and gentlemen, don't forget we are simulcasting on AM 530 and FM 87.7. Now, if you're somewhere where there is a speaker and you can't hear me, that's probably not going to do you a whole lot of
Probably
good,
not.
because you couldn't hear me. Talk amongst your friends. They'll get you hooked up.
That's right.
Anyway, my friend, thank you very much.
Thank you, John. We'll talk to you on Tuesday. Everybody have a good week. This is Rob with News 44 TV. Thank you for watching. We'll see you soon.